This morning made a difficult decision for our program. We took the opportunity to visit with Coach DeBest this morning and decided to part ways. First off, I'd like to say that Coach DeBest is a very honorable man, very good man. Did a tremendous job while he was at Georgia Southern on and off the field. He is a guy that has really helped me, especially with the head coaching stuff, with his knowledge and wisdom and being around ball for a long time and being around a lot of different places and head coaches. So this was a very difficult decision, but he handled it very professionally, just like I would have expected him to do. He was very grateful for his opportunity at Georgia Southern. And, I know he was disappointed that he was not going to get to finish the job that he had started, but he definitely impacted a lot of people here. And, for that, we are very grateful to him and his wife and his family. And we wish him nothing but the best moving forward. But felt like that was the best thing for our program. Felt like for us to try to finish the season strong, we needed to make this move. And, very disappointed about the game yesterday. We had a very adverse week last week. And I thought our guys handled that very well to get themselves ready to play that football game. And for the most part, we're taking care of business. We're not able to finish the game. And that's 2 weeks in a row of two games that we should have won that we didn't. And we did not finish, and that's obviously a problem. And we got to make sure that we get that corrected in a hurry and make sure we finish this season strong.
All right, guys, we'll take questions.
Coach, when you brought in Coach Ruse over the offseason, was there a thought that he would be the offensive coordinator in waiting? And was Coach DeBest planning on stepping down at the end of the season or any time in particular?
Not at all. Coach Roos was a guy that when we had the opportunity to hire him, I thought it would be a great fit for our staff. I thought he would work well with Coach DeBest. His knowledge of Georgia Southern, his knowledge of the expectations of Georgia Southern, his knowledge of the offense that he ran here, and then his knowledge of Coach DeBest's offense. The whole thought process behind the hire was this is two good offensive minds that we can get together in the same room and help one another. And to be honest with you, that's exactly what happened. I think Coach Roos and Coach DeBest worked very well together, but absolutely not. I had no intentions of Coach Roos becoming the offensive coordinator. That's how it worked out, and I did think Coach Roos was the best choice to go do that at this time.
How long have you been thinking about this change at offensive coordinator?
That's a hard question. Part of me, when you don't get an off season, and then you start out, on that July 24th date, and you're working through, the things that you would normally have gotten worked through with spring practice and some of your OTAs and things like that. I felt like the offense was behind, but I felt like that it was trending in the right direction. We were just not finishing drives. We were having trouble in the red zone. We were not scoring enough points. I did feel like that at any moment we were going to explode and it was going to take off. My thoughts on that were inaccurate, and we didn't take off. So to be honest with you, I've been working with Coach DeBest and our offensive staff and obviously our whole staff all year to just try to make sure we had a great game plan in place and make sure we had an opportunity to win every football game. But as it worked out, the explosion on the offense never did happen. And so, I felt like the change was needed and we needed to bring a different vibe and energy to our offense.
Can you give
Yesterday at Georgia State, we saw, Sam Kenderson take a snap and, Jalen White get involved in these last two, maybe a third game, with the bowl game. What are you expecting from Coach Rose as far as implementing his style and while still transitioning with a lot of moving parts on offense?
Well, I think we got to be really smart. It would probably be a very bad idea to just wholesale change everything and try to be ready to play a football game by doing that. There are some wrinkles that we have talked about. There are some things that I do want to see. I'm going to hold off telling you what those are because I do think that that's probably important for us not to allow our opponents to know. But when you start talking about those young guys and you start talking about those guys getting in, that right now, that's by necessity with what has happened with, the off the field incidents or injuries. But what I am fired up about is I just think those guys have the talent to really do it. And we got to make sure that we make sure whichever way we go with our offense, we need to make sure that we don't put them in a position where they can't succeed. Unfortunately, Sam was only able to get a couple carries. Ended up getting a little banged up on his second run, and we didn't get him out there. But if you watch that first run, man, there's something different about him. Jalen White, he's shown over and over again in scrimmages and in practices that he can be a guy. Again, I think Logan Wright and Matt LaRoche and obviously Gerald Green, I think those guys, are deserving of the opportunity also. But Jalen White is a guy, if we can get him going, I think he can be a difference maker for us.
Are you looking at these next two games, Coach, as an audition for Coach Ruse for the offensive coordinator position next year, or are you pretty sold on the fact you'd like to give him a full year and try and harken back to what he was able to do in years past at Georgia Southern?
Well, in my opinion, every day's an interview, whether that's the offensive coordinator, if it's the head football coach, or, you're only as good as your next game. You know what I mean? So, so I see that as every day being an interview. I don't want to speak on, kind of what I'm thinking. I want to take my time with this. I want to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success. Not only to finish this season, but also the future of this program. I understand. 4 losses at Georgia Southern is never going to be acceptable. 1 loss at Georgia Southern is never going to be acceptable. I understand that, and that's what we preach every day. We got to win every game, period. And when we don't win, we're going to hear about it, and that's how it is. But I want to make sure we make a great decision for our program. I don't want to rush into it. Just like, I made the decision this morning with Coach DeBest. I very easily could have made the decision after the game yesterday, but that's not what I do. I try to sleep on things. I try to make sure I pray about it. I try to make sure that I make a great decision and not rush into anything. So I think the big piece is let's see how this thing kind of goes right now, and let's work through it, and let's find the best fit for Georgia Southern.
Coach, was there a tipping point that made you say, I've got to make a decision when you have so many close losses and close wins? Maybe you ride it out. You still got games to go. This is a tough decision to make in midstream. Was there a tipping point that said, I've got to do something to turn this team around or provide a spark? And also, second question, what's Shai Wertz's condition? Because you want Coach to have all the weapons at his disposal. Is Shai going to be ready?
When you ask about a tipping point, I think the big piece is just the last 2 games, we should have won. We should have beat Army. We should have beat Georgia State, and, shoulda, woulda, coulda right now. It's results, not reasons, right? I think that's the tipping point, because I do think our guys are, I know for a fact they were ready for the Army game. I know for a fact they were ready for yesterday's game. We've got to fix the finish part. We got to fix the not letting people hang around. We got to fix the, where we've got the killer instinct to go put people away. I know when, I took the job over, it was all about, putting our foot on their throat and choking them out. And we got to get back to that mentality. That definitely starts with me. We got to make sure we get that done. Unfortunately, because of the decision I made today, Coach DeBest has taken a lot of the blame. And I don't feel that way. I think it's something that definitely can spark us. I do think we can get a new energy on offense to help us. But I still think there's a lot of other things that we have to look at and we have to pinpoint and we have to make sure we address because if we just sit here and point fingers at one person, I mean, that's not going to get it done. We got to make sure that we're looking at all areas and evaluate that. As far as Shy Works goes, you know, obviously he did not finish the game for us. He's struggling right now with that shoulder. I have not talked to the trainer today. I know he, after the game, was not feeling well at all with his shoulder. I would expect him not to practice tonight. And, you know, and then we'll see if it ends up being a day-to-day thing. It might be one of those things where we know that he is out. I don't know yet, but I know he's not feeling well right now with his shoulder.
Coach, you've mentioned that there's other things you have to evaluate and look over from the past few games. The fourth down decisions to kick field goals or attempt field goals instead of going for it on a lot of situations, is that something that you may reevaluate, or do you feel pretty confident in the decisions that you and the offensive staff have made in order to kick a lot of times instead of going for it?
You know, I've thought a lot about the two field goals we missed yesterday. The one right before half, we were at the 35-yard line. It was a 4th and 8. It was definitely not a place to punt. I did not feel good about trying to get 8 yards. I felt like it was, in my opinion, I felt like it was more important to get the points right there or attempt to get the points than go for it on 4th down and not get it. Or, yeah, if you get it, man, great. It was a great decision, right? But I thought it was really important that we got points right there. You know, Alex went out there. That's a long field goal for him, 52 yards. And he drilled it. Just ended up being just a little bit to the left and missed it. But again, Georgia State was starting on the 35-yard line. Okay, so they had to go 65 yards to score. And, you know, we played defense fairly well up until we gave the deep ball up. And then that allowed them to get in the touchdown. And again, that sucks because that put the score 14-13 going into half instead of keeping it at 14-6 or even 17-6. And, you know, because that would have been a great deal. But I really don't have a problem with kicking that field goal or attempting that field goal. The other one in the game that we missed, that was a 4th and 3. That was a 48-yarder. Hindsight, maybe 4th and 3. But what I did know is that he had shown that he had enough leg to hit that 52-yarder. And I knew that if we hit that field goal right there, that was going to put us up by 8 points, which would have been important in that ball game at the time. Missing it obviously doesn't help, and you know, that puts you in a serious situation. But both decisions to kick the field goal, I can live with both of them for sure.
I meant overall, do you feel like you guys have been aggressive when it comes to going forward on 4th downs throughout your career here at Georgia Southern? Do you feel like that's been the mentality?
I think there's times where we've been aggressive. I think there's probably times that we've been conservative and you know, took points over going for it. If you wanted me to make a judgment call on that, I would say it was probably leans toward more conservative than going for it. However, I don't look at it as I look at it as a situational game. I look at it as making a decision. You know, it's just like if you go back to the Louisiana game on that first drive, we decided to go for it on 4th down. You know, at the end of the ball game, you know, everybody's saying that was a terrible decision. You should have kicked the field goal because you lost by 2. And that's probably right. But if we pick up that 4th down, you know, we're able to get way ahead of it, and it doesn't have to come down to a last-second field goal. You know, so I think it's all about situational stuff, when to be aggressive and when not to be aggressive. And that's not a cop-out. I just think it's all about gut feel, and it's all about what is the situation in the game.
So do you guys use analytics at all in those situations, or is it mainly a gut feeling?
Yes, I do have analytics. Every time there's a first down, I get the feedback of what it's telling me. For example, yesterday, both analytics said kick the field goal on the two we missed. I won't say that I'm a 100% go by analytics because I do think I think numbers are important. I think analytics is important because it takes the feeling out of it. But again, in a ball game, I think sometimes that gut feeling should outweigh what analytics says.
Coach, have you been able to talk to Ruse yet about getting this job? I know you said you made the decision this morning with Coach DeBest. Have you been able to talk to Doug yet? What's his reaction? What'd he tell you if you've been able to catch up with him?
Yes, I made sure we were all on the same page about, I wasn't going to go make a decision and not have a plan in place that was going to stick, right? So yes, I had a conversation with Coach Roos. He was very, I guess the word again, like I used with Coach DeBest, he was very professional. Obviously not wanting to say anything against Coach DeBest or anything like that. Very complimentary of Coach DeBest. What I know about Coach Roos is he's a guy that always has a plan. 33 years of coaching, being an offensive coordinator here, being an offensive coordinator at other places. I knew that when I asked him to do this, I knew that he was going to be the most experienced and the right guy for the job because he's done it. He's been in that fire. And, if you're going to make a change in the season, I think it's very important that you got somebody that's seasoned and you don't just break a rookie into it.
What about some of the players? Have you been able to, I know y'all practice on Sunday nights, but have you, in group text or anything that, letting them know, what that plan is of moving forward and how the specifics of that plan?
Yeah, what I did is after I talked to Coach DeBest and the offensive staff, I ended up calling all the quarterbacks. I talked to each one of them individually. And I started with Shy and I went all the way down. And, I made sure that they heard from me. They heard it from me and not from a text message and not from Twitter or Facegram and Instabook and all that stuff. I think it was important that they heard that from me. Now, I got 120 something guys on the football team and it's hard to call all of them. So the rest of the guys, I was able to send a mass text, just to let them know that I did make a decision for our program because I didn't want them seeing it on social media before they heard it from me. But that's how I kind of handled it. Again, I wish I could talk to every single person in our program individually about it, but that's really not feasible.
Coach, the offense was struggling a bit, even when you had J.D. King, Wesley Kennedy, Shy at full strength. Now you've got neither of them. Shy's banged up. You're in a bind with 2 games left. You said there's not going to be any big wholesale changes. Obviously, that would be tough. How much better can this offense get in the limited capacity that you're in right now?
Well, you want to be careful what you say, because it's going to be different. I mean, there's going to be some things that we're going to throw at them that's going to be different. What my hopes are in this is it's just a energizing of our guys. It's all right, we're doing something new. It's not the same old thing. We're gonna look differently, and we're gonna do different things. Again, I'd love to sit here and say, well, now we made this change, we're going to score 40 points a game. I don't know if that's realistic. I do know this. I know that we played good enough defense to win football games, and we needed to go try to score enough points so that we can win the football game. I would love for them to be blowouts, the last 2 in the bowl game. I'd love that. But right now the big piece is let's go win and let's find a way to win. And and let's do that by playing great, fanatical defense, efficient offense, and good special teams. And let's go get it done as a team.
Coach, you mentioned sending some text to some players. Guys like Shy and some of those running backs who have such a big part in this offense, do you consult them when you make a decision like this to change OC, or do you keep it at the managerial level and let the players know after? How does that kind of work, if you're able to expand on that?
I'll be honest with you. I kept a very tight circle with this one. You know, there are times where I bounce things off players for sure, because I want it to be a good fit, and I want them to feel confident in the decision. I felt like this needed to be a head coach decision. I felt like I'm the one that has the best grasp of what the locker room's like, but also what the coach's office is like, what the staff meetings are like, what the culture is on our staff, and what the culture is with our team. Lots of times with team, I'm going to talk to the players because they're going to know a little bit more about what the vibe is in the locker room, because that's where they live. But to me, I needed to make sure that I addressed the culture with the coaching staff and how I made this decision and which way we went with it. So just to be honest with you, I kept the circle tight on this one and ended up making this decision myself.
You talked in the beginning about this being a very adverse week, the loss with the layover in New Jersey, and then, off the field things, loss to a rival, a coaching change. What is the mood of the locker room, from head to toe of their mentality, they're still in a pandemic, there's still school going on. What's the overall, the mood and just the the vibe in the locker room between the guys and the coaches?
Well, obviously the vibe after last night's game, we love to say around here we love to win, but I guarantee you we probably hate to lose more than we love to win. And those guys were hurt yesterday because they knew they had that game, and they knew they had it won, and we didn't put it away. And that's 2 straight weeks of that. We're going to find out what our team is about. And I'll be honest with you, last week, we've had some tough weeks here, or tough times here at Georgia Southern. And, but I think last week was probably one of the toughest we've faced as a collective team. The way we lost the Army game, the travel back problems, losing practice and prep time, and then the off the field stuff, that was big time distractions. And what I'll say is I asked them to man up last week. They did that. They put themselves in the right frame of mind to go win the football game. They put themselves in position to win the football game, and then we didn't finish. So we're going to be at a fragile point with our football team right now. I'm very interested to see what the vibe's like in the team meeting. I'm very interested to see what the vibe is at practice tonight. But if I was a betting man, I'd bet on our